The online conversation surrounding Kian84 and his remarks about Jin has quickly evolved into a much broader cultural discussion, touching on loyalty, personal freedom, and the emotional dynamics between global idols and their fans. What began as a seemingly casual comment has since gained attraction across social media platforms, prompting fans and observers alike to reflect on the often unspoken sacrifices made by K-pop stars at the height of their fame. According to Kian84, Jin appears to hold a personal principle that prioritizes his bond with fans above romantic relationships or marriage. Rather than framing this as a rule imposed by management or industry pressure, Kian84 described it as a conscious choice, one rooted in Jin's sense of responsibility and gratitude toward those who support him. This perspective immediately resonated with fans who have long admired Jin for his sincerity and emotional intelligence, seeing the comment as further proof of his thoughtful approach to fame. The idea that an idol might voluntarily place such boundaries on their personal life is not new, but it remains deeply controversial. For many fans, Jin's alleged stance reinforces the emotional closeness they feel with him. They interpret it as a sign that he truly values the connection he has built over the years, recognizing that fans have invested not only time and money, but also emotional energy into supporting his career. In this light, loyalty becomes more than a marketing concept. It becomes a moral commitment in Jin's eyes. At the same time, the discussion has sparked concern among more critical voices within the fandom and beyond. Many argue that while loyalty to fans is admirable, it should never come at the expense of an artist's personal happiness. They question whether idols, consciously or unconsciously, internalize expectations that limit their freedom to pursue love and family life. This debate reflects a growing shift in fan culture, where more people advocate for healthier boundaries and emphasize that true support includes respecting an artist's private choices. Kian84's comments also shed light on the unique pressures faced by top-tier idols like Jin. Fame on a global scale often comes with the constant awareness that every personal decision may become public discussion. Even silence can be interpreted as a statement. In this environment, choosing to delay or avoid public relationships can feel like the safest way to maintain harmony, both for the artist and the fandom. Jin, known for balancing humor with quiet introspection, may see this approach as a way to protect both himself and his fans from unnecessary conflict. The reaction to this revelation highlights how fandom culture is evolving. While some fans still hold on to traditional expectations of idol availability, others are increasingly vocal about wanting their favorite artists to live fully as individuals. This tension mirrors broader conversations in the entertainment industry about mental health, autonomy, and the cost of sustained public adoration. Ultimately, whether Jin truly intends to avoid dating or marriage indefinitely is something only he can clarify. What Kian84's statement has undoubtedly done is open a window into the emotional complexity of idol life. It reminds the public that behind the polished performances and carefully managed images are individuals constantly negotiating between personal desires and public devotion. In that sense, the story is less about romance and more about the evolving definition of loyalty in the modern age of global fandom. As the discussion continues to unfold, many industry observers note that stories like this resonate because they expose the emotional architecture behind idol stardom. In Jin's case, the idea of choosing restraint in his personal life has become symbolic of a larger question. How much of themselves do idols feel they owe to the public that supports them? Kian84's remarks, whether meant as a casual observation or a deeper insight, tapped into that question at exactly the right moment, when conversations about artist autonomy are becoming louder across global fandoms. For longtime followers of Jin, the narrative feels consistent with the image he has carefully and naturally built over the years. He has often spoken about gratitude, responsibility, and the importance of sincerity, values that fans see reflected in both his public appearances and quieter moments. This has led some supporters to frame the issue not as sacrifice, but as prioritization, believing that Jin may simply be focusing on his career, his group, and the fans who have stood by him through every phase of that journey. Yet, cultural analysts point out that the weight of such choices should not be romanticized too easily. In the K-pop industry, where parasocial relationships are deeply embedded into the system, even voluntary decisions can be influenced by years of conditioning and expectation. Idols grow up learning that their image is inseparable from their success, and that personal happiness is often negotiated rather than freely claimed. Kian84's statement, therefore, is being read by some as a reflection of this environment rather than a single individual's mindset. International fans, in particular, have added another layer to the conversation by comparing K-pop culture with Western entertainment norms. While celebrities in other industries are often encouraged to showcase their personal lives as a form of authenticity, K-pop idols face a different reality, one where mystery and emotional exclusivity are part of the appeal. Jin's rumored stance has become a case study in how those contrasting values collide in a globalized fandom. Social media has amplified every angle of the debate. Some fans express pride, saying Jin's loyalty makes them feel respected and seen. Others counter that true respect should go both ways, insisting that fans must also be prepared to support him if and when he chooses a different path. This duality reflects a fandom in transition, caught between long-standing traditions and a growing awareness of mental health and personal boundaries. What remains striking is how a single comment from Kian84 managed to ignite such a wide-ranging dialogue. It underscores how sensitive the topic of relationships remains in idol culture, and how deeply fans care, not just about performances or achievements, but the emotional well-being of the artists they admire. Jin, often celebrated for his emotional warmth and quiet wisdom, has become the focal point of a conversation that extends far beyond dating or marriage. In the end, the story's longevity lies in its ambiguity. Without direct confirmation from Jin himself, the public is left to interpret, debate, and project their own values onto the situation. Perhaps that is why the topic continues to trend. It forces fans and critics alike to confront uncomfortable but necessary questions about love, loyalty, and the cost of devotion in modern pop culture.
As the conversation matures, many fans are beginning to shift the focus away from speculation and toward empathy. Rather than asking whether Jin should or should not date or marry, the discussion is slowly evolving into a broader reflection on choice, specifically whose choice it really is. The narrative sparked by Kian84 has unintentionally highlighted how easily public commentary can blur the line between observation and expectation when it comes to idol lives. For Jin, who has consistently projected warmth, humor, and emotional steadiness, the idea that he might prioritize fans over romance feels believable to many. Supporters point out that his relationship with fans has always been framed as reciprocal rather than transactional. In their eyes, loyalty is not about ownership, but about mutual respect built over years of shared experiences, music, and growth. This interpretation casts Jin's rumored stance not as self-denial, but as a reflection of his current values and timing. However, media critics caution against turning this narrative into a defining label. Once an idol is publicly associated with a particular moral stance, especially one involving sacrifice, it can become difficult for them to step outside it without backlash. If Jin were to one day announce a relationship or marriage, the same story that now fuels admiration could quickly become a source of controversy. This is the paradox of idol loyalty. Praise and pressure often stem from the same place. The conversation has also reignited questions about how fans consume and interpret secondhand statements. Kian84's words, while widely quoted, were not a formal declaration from Jin himself. Yet in the hyper-connected ecosystem of modern fandom, indirect comments often gain the same weight as direct confessions. This raises concerns about how narratives solidify long before the subject has a chance to clarify or respond. Younger fans, particularly those newer to K-pop, appear to be driving a more progressive tone in the discussion. Many argue that idols should be allowed to redefine loyalty on their own terms, without it being tied to romantic availability. For them, supporting Jin means trusting his judgment, whether that leads him toward love, marriage, or continued independence. This mindset reflects a generational shift toward healthier fandom dynamics. Meanwhile, industry insiders suggest that stories like this may influence how entertainment companies approach artist branding in the future. As fans become more vocal about respecting boundaries, agencies may feel increasing pressure to protect their artists' private lives rather than capitalize on ambiguity. Jin's situation, discussed so openly despite the lack of official statements, demonstrates both the risks and the urgency of that shift. Ultimately, the lasting impact of this story may not lie in whether Jin dates or marries, but in how fans redefine their role in an idol's life. Loyalty, once understood as emotional exclusivity, is now being re-examined as something more flexible and humane. In that sense, the discourse sparked by Kian84 has become less about a single idol and more about the future of fandom itself, one where admiration can coexist with autonomy and support does not require sacrifice from either side. As the debate continues to ripple through online communities, the narrative has begun to take on a more reflective tone, moving beyond headlines and into deeper questions about identity and agency. For many fans, the situation has become a mirror, revealing not only how they see Jin, but how they see themselves within the ecosystem of fandom. The idea that an idol might consciously limit personal relationships for the sake of fans forces a collective pause. Admiration feels warm, but expectation can quickly become heavy. Cultural commentators have noted that Jin occupies a unique position in this conversation. As someone often described as emotionally mature and quietly principled, he is frequently projected as a moral compass within the industry. That perception, while flattering, also carries risk. When fans elevate an artist to a symbolic role, their real, evolving human needs can be overshadowed by the narrative fans want to preserve. Jin's silence on the matter has, paradoxically, allowed the story to grow larger than it might otherwise have been. The role of Kian84 in this unfolding discussion is also being reassessed. Some view his remarks as an honest glimpse into private conversations, while others argue that even well-intentioned comments can unintentionally shape public expectations. In an era where every quote can be clipped, translated, and amplified within minutes, the responsibility of public figures to consider long-term impact has never been greater. What may have started as an observation has now become a cultural talking point. Interestingly, the conversation has begun to influence how fans talk to one another. Instead of purely emotional reactions, more nuanced discussions are emerging. Threads about consent, boundaries, and the difference between appreciation and entitlement. Fans are increasingly asking whether loyalty should be something an idol proves through sacrifice or something fans demonstrate through trust. This shift suggests a maturing fandom that is learning to sit with complexity rather than simple devotion. There is also a growing awareness of how these narratives affect idols psychologically. Mental health advocates within the K-pop community warn that constant speculation about personal life choices can create invisible pressure even when framed positively. Being praised for giving up love can subtly discourage an artist from pursuing it later. In this sense, even admiration can become a cage if it leaves no room for change. As time passes, the intensity of the debate may fade, but its implications are likely to linger. The story has already contributed to a broader reevaluation of what fans truly want for the artists they support. Is it eternal availability or long-term well-being? Is loyalty about closeness or about letting go when necessary? These are questions with no easy answers, but they mark an important turning point in fan culture. In the end, the continuing conversation surrounding Jin is less about confirming a personal choice and more about redefining values. It challenges fans to evolve alongside the artists they admire, recognizing that growth often means allowing space for new chapters. Whether Jin's future includes romance, marriage, or continued privacy, the most meaningful loyalty may be the willingness to support him, not as an ideal, but as a human being whose story is still unfolding.